Phew, so far so good. Hey, that's...
That reddish-pink person again of all places.
I found you, co-host.
Co-host? I think you're the co-host around here. You're podcasting with me? Huh, you're even good enough to be my co-host.
I'll make you say those words.
There's plenty of time for podcasting. You'll even get the chance. Because we're on Let's Talk About Sonic, the world's most famous podcast about the world's most famous hedgehog. I'm Crep.
I'm Mitt.
And we're still talking about Sonic Adventure 2.
If you thought there was enough to talk about Sonic in general, most of that is Sonic Adventure 2, actually.
A lot of it is Sonic Adventure 2. We talked about plenty about how it's a divisive game last time. But it's also just a really meaty game. There's a lot to sink your teeth into, to continue that metaphor. Today we'd like to talk about the new characters, because Sonic games were introducing new characters like almost every game from inception to like 2006 was kind of the cap of it. But a lot of the characters that were introduced before 2001 didn't stick around as mainstays of the franchise, or at least not frequently. That changed starting with Sonic Adventure 2 with the introduction of Rouge and Shadow, and characters who came after them also stuck around. Kind of the big exception of that is Big from SA1, who appeared in Sonic Heroes, and lots of spin-offs since then, including racing titles. But Rouge and Shadow have left the biggest impact on the general cast of Sonic in terms of longevity.
Gamma 2 kind of evolved into Omega later on.
Right.
Which is like its own weird thing, because they're completely different personality-wise.
Yeah, Gamma
it's kind of funny.
Gamma planted a seed that Omega sprouted from.
Yeah, for sure. I wish I had more offhand Archie knowledge, because there's some weird stuff with that and how they're like technically the same person.
Really?
Robot. Yeah, apparently.
That's weird. That's interesting and weird and interesting. The only thing that I know about Omega and Gamma in the Archie comics is the one or multiple times that the artist genuinely thought that Omega was the taller of the two.
Yeah. Omega is in fact a manlet.
Omega is distinctly a manlet. Gamma is like 6'6".
Gamma is super duper tall.
Something like that. More.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Omega is legitimately 4 foot something.
Yeah.
Insane. It's a wide manlet.
True.
They exist. Omega is very important representation for the wide manlet community.
Yeah.
Omega is very important representation for the angry wide manlet community.
Yeah.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves. That's a hero's character whom we love, hold dear in our hearts. But we're still stuck in the far off year of 2001. However long it'll take for us to get there, we're dreaming of it all the time. And Shadow the Hedgehog, is it a stretch at this point to say he's the second most important character in the franchise from like a fan base level?
He is the Sephiroth to Sonic's Cloud, yes.
Oh my god, yeah. Really apt comparison.
Yeah.
You ready for Shadow to be the next DLC in Smash?
Please. We're recording this the night before Pyra and Mithra are gonna like get talked about in the morning, and like if by some miracle they like start talking about Echo Fighters or another pass and Shadow is announced in the future, you will be there.
We'll be there. That'll be the only thing we'll be talking about the whole time.
Yeah.
Can guarantee it.
I'm more of an Eggman for Smash guy in this case, but like if we got Shadow, I'm not gonna complain.
Yeah, I'm also more of an Eggman, just because really iconic game villain. That's what they've been doing for a lot of Ultimate's inclusions.
Yeah.
And there would just be a lot of interesting things to do with him mechanically
Yeah.
that I would hope they would do.
Let's rope this in a little bit. What moves would Shadow have in Smash Brothers before we talk about them as characters?
So if Shadow's gonna be an Echo Fighter,
yeah,
he's gonna keep the homing attack. He could even keep the spin charge, but he's not gonna keep the spin dash.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they would replace it with, because in terms of notable Shadow moves, you would think of never mind. He would just have Chaos Control for a down B and it'd just be like Meta Knight.
I was thinking like Chaos Snap at the very least could be up B, and that's basically the same as Chaos Control in terms of like, what it's representing.
It would be Chaos Snap for like up B, and whatever was the name for that, for his power move on the ground in Sonic Battle, the one where he Chaos Controls away and comes back with a big burst of energy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it could just be those things.
Yeah.
He would keep the homing attack, he would keep the spin charge, especially because the spin charge is really fundamental to Sonic play, and I would imagine it would stay fundamental to Shadow play in a weird way.
Yeah. Yeah, I could imagine them, like, removing the spin dash, but keeping the spin charge, like the side B, just because, like, the spin dash itself is not really super attributed to Shadow in, like, the traditional sense of, like, holding down and mashing the button.
Yeah, not in any game.
Maybe they could take the spin charge and, like, make it a different functional move, so it's not necessarily, like, it's not the spin dash in function. Maybe it's, like, closer to the somersault or, like, the Sonic Advance thing, just to, like, kind of anchor him into an era-specific move. Because, like, they could very easily, like, turn him into a Ken rather than a Richter,
right?
If that makes sense.
I would say, like, more of a Ken than a Chrom.
Yeah.
Would be nice. Actually, I think the more apt comparison is more of a Ken than a Lucina, because at least Chrom has the different up B, which does change how you play him.
Yeah. I know our friend has mentioned him having the motorcycle as the side B, which would be kind of funny.
That would be baller and strange.
It's not, I don't know. I think I would want them to do something different. It would be really funny if he just had the Wario bike, basically.
Because that's the thing, he would pull it out of thin air just like Wario does.
He would chaos control it in.
That kind of works. That's, like, dumb in a sensible way.
Yeah, Shadow has weird god powers. He could do that.
He could do that. He's the Sephiroth to Sonic's Cloud.
Oh my god. Sephiroth on a chopper.
That you've just described Shadow the Hedgehog. I regret to inform you.
Okay, I wish. No hate to Shadow.
Is the Chaos Spear not just an equivalent for a very long katana that makes no sense?
I thought you were gonna say, is that just an equivalent for a meteor?
He's never done that, but he could.
He could.
He could. I believe in my heart of hearts that he has the capacity.
Yeah.
He did that off-screen at the end of his story in Sonic 06 after he removed his limiter bracelets.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. To reel us back into SA2 specifically, I have a very neat tidbit about Shadow's design, actually, that I didn't know until reading up on the Sonic fan wiki, the Sonic News Network, just to get an idea of where Shadow was conceived from.
Mm-hmm.
He went through a lot of design iterations, as did Rouge, but once his design was finalized, the red stripes that go along his spines are actually attributed to being inspired by kabuki makeup, which is interesting.
That's neat.
Yeah, Kazuyuki Hoshino said so in an interview at some point. I'm not sure why the kabuki influence in specific, but I find it really intriguing.
Yeah, it's very striking. I think because, like, a lot of his earlier designs, they were either really leaning into just straight black and white, or just like black, white, and red, or even one of them is just like straight up like a blue-black, which
Yeah,
it kind of strikes me as like a weird Metal Sonic palette.
exactly. I mean, it's not helped by, or I suppose is helped by the like red eye, the red singular eye.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That adds to it. In those concept designs, also there was a lot more use of yellow. Like yellow is a color on Shadow, especially in the way it works well with his muzzle color in the early appearances he had, where he wasn't whitewashed.
Yeah.
The whitewashing of Shadow T Hedgehog. I joke, but it does suck that they did that with him and Rouge and even Knuckles after SA2. That's a whole thing unto itself, but
yeah, I think a lot of the characters in SA2 generally had darker muzzle and skin colors, which, like, not even looking at it from the perspective of, like, I don't know, like a skin tone thing, I think that's just better paletting, and, like, especially for Shadow, I really prefer that vastly.
Like I was saying, it goes really nice with the gold bracelets and the little bits of gold that are at the tops of like the openings to his shoes, where his shoe cuffs are his knot socks.
His knocks.
Have I mentioned yet on the podcast that those are not socks? I don't think I have. I'm sorry, everyone. The white parts of Sonic's footwear, those are not socks. Those are his boots rolled down.
Wait, what?
Oh my god, I didn't know you didn't know.
This is news to me.
I have to look this up right now. This is real time, because this is something Takashi Iizuka mentioned in an interview.
Oh my god. Wait, how new is the interview?
Really recent.
Okay, that figures.
Like last year, I think.
Yeah, that tracks.
God, where do I find this?
This is an interesting episode.
Oh yeah, we're we're up and running, really.
Yeah. 'Cause, like, for some degree of transparency, we just now recorded the funny intros that you heard for this episode and the last one, like just before this, and that like put us in like a mood or like a speed, you know?
Yeah, it's given us a lot of, you could say, momentum going into this. All right. I'm not finding it right now, but I know it was mentioned. I know it was mentioned somewhere on Sonic Retro, like months ago.
That's surreal. They are explicitly not a part of his shoe.
Because I need to find this right now. I'm gonna go to the Sonic Retro Supreme topic of other knowledge and just search shoes in it, because like, God, I need to find this.
This is ridiculous.
I know it. I know it is real. Here we go. Someone says the Anthro's shoes are boots. Let's see. This caused a bit of stir on Twitter recently. Is linked from this Sonic Retro post. I'm going to give you this link also, Mitt.
I found something also.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, there we go. Oh, that's from 2017. It's all shoes, Naoto Oshima says. On Twitter, December 25th, 2017. So, it's been confirmed for a bit, but what I was thinking of was February of last year, where a freelance illustrator, Neko Soul, was posting some Sonic concept art, which has notes on it, and the notes in Japanese mention Michael Jackson dancing boots for the shoes, which we've known they're inspired by Michael Jackson's shoes for a long time, but it also notes boots are folded back. This tweet does mention it's not clear if modern Sonic is wearing boots, but that Naoto Oshima tweet kind of speaks to that, maybe.
Okay.
Cool. So, there's a bombshell for all of you. No clue about Shadow. There's really no confirmation about his shoes, but Sonic, those are not socks.
Well, we could glean from Shadow that he's at least not wearing socks either. Like, there's just
Yeah.
no discrepancy there. It's just all cool looking shoe.
Yeah, it's just cool looking weird shoe with all these
Mhm.
flaps everywhere. So Shadow went through like a bunch of design iteration.
Yeah.
At one point, in his early conception, his name was Terios for a bit, which translates from some language. I'm not sure. I'd have to like look more deeply into it, but it translates to effectively reflection of, which is very apt. About as apt as Shadow. So
Yeah. Somehow Shadow feels more not like fluent. Definitely not fluent. It feels not even necessarily apt. Appropriate, I guess.
yeah,
It feels smarter. It feels like a smarter choice of name.
right. It speaks more easily to what he is and who he is and why.
Yeah.
And it also ties in nicely to like the fact that he has baggage,
Yeah.
giving him a dark kind of name. I'm sure we'll get into that baggage later.
There's some funny looking guys in this concept art. I definitely like the one where he has like a chain glove just with really big bangs, and he's still very obviously just Sonic.
Yeah, there's a good few here that just look like Sonic but with longer spines and a scar over his eye and like jewelry.
Oh, I forgot that like the really early Terios ones. I think part of the set that Sega posted back in the day when they were like going down the list of all the character concept arts.
Mhm.
He's like shredded. He's buff.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's got muscles.
That's so weird.
They dropped that. It seems kind of quick because it's only those two design iterations that have any musculature. It's really funny. I don't think there's any Sonic character, period, outside of the comics that has actual defined musculature.
Defined, absolutely not. There's like
Yeah.
abstracted musculature, and that like mostly kind of falls into the Deadly Six, but
Oh yeah.
definitely not otherwise.
I really like Shadow's shoes.
Yeah, they're awesome.
They're awesome. It sucks that the only time they've ever been like made real was promotionally with SA2's release with the soap shoes,
Hmm.
and those are just gone.
They're just gone.
They're just gone, just like the shoe design that Sonic has in SA2. Gone.
Yeah, it's really a crime that they have not like mass produced Sonic shoes of any kind.
Yeah. They're always these luxury items, either
Yeah.
because they're shoes that you grind on rails with and hurt yourself using, or they're just pure limited quantity promotional items for one specific thing.
Yeah, like the Pumas for the movie that they made 5 of, even though they're just a recolor of Pumas you can buy.
Yep. They don't even look like the shoes he wears in the movie.
Do they not?
I don't think so, do they?
I think they did, if memory
I-
serves.
I'd have to look again. I could have sworn the ones he wore in the movie were slightly more accurate to the traditional Sonic shoe design.
I cannot remember offhand, so
Nope, I can't remember either. Faulty memories of a movie I only saw twice, at 1 2/3 times actually. But we'll watch again.
yeah, we'll have to watch it again to settle this.
We gotta.
We got to keep talking about Shadow. I swear to God, Shadow's not a boring character.
No, it's just like he's not boring, but he sure does have a lot at face value, right? Like,
Yeah,
I look at him and I think I like him. He's cool.
like it is good and communicative character design. It's just like a lot of the stuff you could say about him, excluding his backstory, is just kind of like there. Like he's cool. They did it.
Yeah. I can't remember if there was any specific design intent behind him having the upward pointing spikes. That was like how they were depicting Supersonic as of SA1.
Hmm.
it might have been an intentional callback in the sense that Supersonic is this ultra powerful thing, and Shadow is the ultimate life form, so he has to take on some of those design traits to communicate his own inherent power that Sonic grows to have by the end of the game also.
Mm-hmm.
I never liked that Super Shadow's quills never changed positioning or shape or anything.
Yeah, now that you've pointed this out to me, I do kind of resent it a little bit, because like I really like the older Supersonic design where like the top quill is still down and then the other two, or other four rather, are up like that. I wonder if that also has to do with the fact that I find Shadow considerably easier to draw than Sonic.
Why do you find him easier to draw? I don't agree, actually.
It's the quills. They are like, Sonic's quills are such a specific slope and length that it feels hard to get it down correctly, I guess, like in a way that I think looks good. But with Shadows, it's like they're already very angular and they just look good most of the time.
Huh. The thing for me is I haven't like wrapped my head around how to replicate their shape in the kind of art that I do yet.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't drawn him much. The last time that I drew Shadow, it was Marcus Larry's redesign on Twitter, so it wasn't even Shadow.
Yeah, and I think like that design for Shadow, I think the quills are lower, right?
I think a little bit, yeah. And I was having difficulty working with them in that space also. But
Yeah.
Again, I think it's just unfamiliarity.
Yeah, I like that. At one point, he had goggles, because that was something that I think there's been like a couple of posts like in a spurt recently that's been like that's made me think of Sonic's mono eye as goggles and how that kind of works.
Huh.
Like just one big Lakitu goggle, and then his actual eyes are just like little beady eyes, I guess.
I mean, that's also very Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
To some degree, and how they changed his design over the years.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I mean, I say changed. How they made it clear what the design intent actually was with him. Modern day Mickey Mouse kind of ugly.
True. You know who isn't ugly though? Rouge.
Rouge is kind of bomb.
Yeah, Rouge is awesome. I like Rouge a lot.
How do we talk about what's cool about Rouge? Because I have a small problem. I have a small medium. I have a big problem.
Okay.
Which is that
escalated.
I'm sorry, I do this from time to time.
It's okay.
I have her concept art in front of me, and I'm seeing all of these outfits that she was drawn with at one point in conceptualizing her, and I'm like, these rock. She's like super punk between these designs with shorts or with these raggedy edged boots, the ear piercings in some of them. One of them straight up has a boob window instead of just having like the open shoulders and like upper chest like she has in the final design.
Mm-hmm.
And like it kind of works, especially because it's like this tank top look. All of them, she's got these tank tops.
Yeah. It's
I guess the one with the window is actually more of like a halter top, but still.
the I'm looking at that one now too, and the pixie cut is awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like her boots and her cuffs are like, she looks like a cowboy. I'm not really big on it because it doesn't read as punk to me. It just reads as cowboy.
Yeah, that's fair. There are elements of it that are more punk than the other designs, but then there are elements of the other designs that are more punk than this one.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at is that she went through a lot of interesting design iterations that I wish had more impact on her final design. A lot of people like that she has the big ears. I think I only tend to like them when she's drawn a specific way. A lot of her like models and promotional art look a little strange, at least in the early era, like outside of the in-game models. But like, I don't know, I feel like part of it is her head shape in general. and the proportions of her face. It just doesn't really... I just don't like it as much as some of these concept arts, and definitely don't like it as much as the way she's been drawn for certain specific games and like Sonic Channel art.
Yeah. I like the big ears. It creates an interesting silhouette, but I think I understand where you're coming from, because I also like some of the concept art where they give her a defined hairstyle. And
I think the lack of hairstyle is a little bit of it for me.
yeah, and I'm wondering how, like, I guess you would meet in the middle by having some kind of interesting set of bangs for her.
Hmm.
Because, like, right in this set of concept artwork, there's also concept artwork for Sonic Heroes, where her ears were probably the biggest.
Yeah, that's part of why I'm thinking that. I think I'm holding that art that directly in front of me a little against SA2, which I shouldn't be. Yeah. I shouldn't be. I'm looking more at SA2 art now, and it looks a lot better. I still feel like I don't like that she has such a flat, round front of her head. I think like a little bit of bangs would do some good for her design.
Yeah, because I really like the bits of hair that go off on the back. I think that looks really good, especially in the SA2B artwork of her where she's in side view.
Yeah, definitely. I have this like preference for her in-game model, the way it's shown here as a pre-rendered model, compared to her official art for SA2, just because of the specific proportions her eyes have and her muzzle compared to the official art. Her ears are still big, but they have like more of a point to them instead of being kind of curved as they go up top from her head. And her eyes are a little bigger on her head. Her iris and pupils feel like they're a little bigger in the eyes. Just overall thicker aspects to her face in proportioning that like makes it more appealing to me personally. Also, it's messed up that so much of her in-game appearances have had purple and black wings, but then a lot of her official art just has black wings.
Yeah, that's really weird. I think the black wings look way better because they're a lot more stark.
I like what the purple adds to her palette, because like I feel like there's too much black and white on her, and not enough of like a signature color. Her like pink highlights don't feel big enough, at least in this early appearance to me, and like having the purple wings blends nice with the pink, at least with her in-game model, since it's more of a hot pink.
Okay. I feel like I think I've always kind of felt this way, is that her signature color is kind of like just the white of her fur.
Yeah, I just feel like it's white and pink.
Yeah, a little bit. Because, like, the white does, like, pop, and there's not really very many other Sonic characters that are just explicitly white. Like, Silver is silver.
Yeah.
Rouge is very starkly white. And I feel like that being the case lets you have, like, those really cyan, the really cyan eyeshadow on top of the pink areas.
That's true. Yeah. The funny thing is I like her color palette in the way it's arranged in her design in her rider's art, where there's like even less pink on her, because suddenly it feels like black and purple together are the most prominent color. It's like it downplays the white a bit. Maybe I just find white a little boring as a focal color.
Yeah, that's understandable.
It's probably just that, which is just my own bias.
That does make me wonder if that was intentional to the degree that, like, Shadow's color is black, Rouge's color is white. They're black and white because of the two new characters.
Probably, honestly, because there's about as much pink on her as there is red on Shadow.
Yeah.
Interesting. If they wanted to like push that parallel even more, they could have put a couple extra bits of cyan on her in the same way that Shadow has the few little bits of gold. But her design's fine. I like Rouge.
Yeah, me too.
I just know that I don't like Rouge as much as some of my other friends.
I like Rouge. Rouge is very cool. It's been a very fun experience, like, reclaiming Rouge.
Yeah. Yes. That's a whole subject.
Yeah. I wish that she would get her Sonic X actress back. That would be very cool. Kathleen Delaney is her name.
Ah. Thinking about Rouge and Sonic X kind of reminds me how, like, she and Vector are the only Anthro characters in the franchise who are above the age of 18.
Yeah.
And, like, I feel like they could really push how Rouge is more of a mature person as a whole.
Yeah, that's interesting. Rouge is like, I guess kind of also Vector, but especially Rouge, especially in SA2, she is not particularly mature.
Yeah.
Especially compared to the way that other characters are depicted. Like it's a stretch to compare Rouge's character in SA2 to like Amy in Sonic Forces, but like you kind of get where I'm going with that.
Yeah, because Amy displays much more maturity for her age in that game than she ever has outside of Sonic Boom, where she seems to be aged up, even though they have never said anything.
Yeah.
Man, Amy's characterization has been all over the place, and I really resent it.
Yeah, that's weird thing, but that's like kind of why I'm not super big on the adventure redesign for her, because like I understand it, but I feel like it kind of takes away from her being the age that she is.
Yeah.
Especially when she's depicted as like, oh, I'm an independent young woman living in the city, going to buy groceries all on my own.
Yeah.
Which like they kind of went into more than you would expect, because it was pretty big in Sonic X, and like it's in Adventure, it's in the games.
They just made it way more textual in Sonic X. That's what they did with a lot of things in Sonic X, for good and for worse.
Yeah.
I just don't really like Amy's Mar design that much because of, like, it's a character who's just like red and pink and white.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like she's literally a gradient in terms of the way colors are laid out on her, but she's still like three colors that are very close. Two colors that contrast nicely with a color that links them really closely, and suddenly makes the whole design feel like there's not much in the way of contrasting parts. There's the gold bracelets, just like Shadow has, but that's kind of it, because even her shoes are red and white.
Yeah. She's dressed up for Christmas.
She's dressed up for Christmas.
I have the weird take that I really dig her classic color palette, which like I don't want to come across as like a classic supremacist. It's I like her new design. It's fine. I like the colors that are presented in the old one, even though they're kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
There's some harmony to it. I don't understand what, because there's literally no harmony to it, but it just works for me. And like I know in the past we as like a friend group have tried like figuring out how to make the colors better, or at least more coherent, and like never is it just something I'm 100% on board with, because I like every color that is introduced.
Yeah, it's not satisfying enough, any of the edits we tried to make.
Yeah.
Especially once they got rid of the green. Those were the weakest, I feel.
Yeah, for sure.
For the same like design reasons that I have qualms with the Adventure and Onwards design for her, because it, even with the blue remaining from her shoes being mixed in with other places or just being kept on the shoes, it just like it loses so much, leaving it with pink and orange and white and blue. It loses a lot of synergy, even.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like you were saying, like, the harmony's really hard to identify in any sort of descriptive level. But there's a harmony between her like purplish pink with the blue, with the green, with the orange specifically. Like, it's these disparate colors in terms of traditional color paletting that contrast each other nicely in the way that they're laid out specifically, and it works.
Yeah.
She also just looks like she's dressed up. Like she's just wearing clothes that she likes, which is fun.
She's just a fun character. I want to see more of like classic Amy be explored in the newer classic stuff,
Yeah.
because I I don't know. I don't want to say that she wasn't explored that much in the classic games, but like Sonic Mania Adventures extra episode was just a good one.
It's just a really good thing. I
Yeah.
feel like classic Amy as a character separate, or at least a different iteration of current Amy, like, has only ever been explored in Mania Adventures, in Sonic Mega Drive, and then a bit in like subtext and character design ways in Sonic the Fighters.
Yeah. Just by virtue of her being named Rosie the Rascal.
Yeah, just by virtue of her being named Rosie the Rascal, and then with Sonic R, just by virtue of her having a car
Yeah.
and doing things with it. Like, whoa, okay, all right. She has a license at age 8.
I was just thinking something like that, but the opposite of it, where it's like, yeah, she has a car, but it's like a toy car. You know, she doesn't know how to drive.
I like that more, for sure. That's more charming.
Yeah.
And it like further cements her as a child, which is good. Please, not just most characters in Sonic are children, but like let the very child ones, the pre-tweens, be tiny and small and silly.
Yeah, she's taller than Tails in the Adventure era.
Yeah, it's so weird.
It's really
like,
weird.
yeah, they aged her up for Adventure 1, but she's still 3 years younger than Sonic.
If this model sheet is any indication, her eye line looks like it's higher than Sonic's.
For classic Amy, or
For Adventure era, because there's like a little lineup of Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy, and it looks like her eye line is like higher than Sonic's. I'm checking now. This is another real time check. We're figuring this out.
this is the research episode.
Yeah.
We're kind of going off on character design, and you know that involves knowing what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Okay, no, they are the same. It turns out they are at the same eye line, which is still weird because it classifies it shows Sonic as being taller just because his top quill goes higher, but that's like that doesn't count. That's not where Sonic's skull is. Come on.
I also just miss classic Amy's eye shape.
Yeah. This is now the Amy.
She has the same thing that Tails has going on, where they lean in a little more instead of the big outward shape that Sonic's eyes have, outward ovals.
Yeah.
And it's cute.
Just think she's neat.
I just think she's neat. It's funny, talking about classic Amy and wishing she could just be a kid makes me want to talk about Cream the Rabbit, but we're still talking about Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah, I mean, at least we have the virtue of saying that Amy is in SA2. She is in that game.
Oh yeah, she sure is. She's an SA2 character, just like Big the Cat.
Yes. I cannot refute that.
I'm just gonna toss this out there apropos of nothing. Big the Cat did not get a new model between Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, nor between Sonic Adventure 2 and Sonic Adventure DX. I believe he got maybe some texture tweaks, and in DX he definitely got some extra polygons added to his feet. That I remember, but like nothing else.
Yeah, him, Gamma, and Eggman all have basically the same models.
Oh
between
yeah,
the iterations of Adventure.
Eggman looks really weird in Adventure DX as a result.
Mm-hmm.
Only in that one game. But to be fair, everyone looks weird in DX.
Yeah.
For different reasons.
The characters look a little weird in SA2B too, kind of.
Yeah, they mostly smoothed models out, going from the Dreamcast to the GameCube.
Yeah, once you really notice the changes in the models in SA2B, you really start to notice the similarities between it and SADX. Just like, why'd you do that? Come on.
They were being a little weird in that era.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, stares at Sonic Heroes.
Sonic Heroes is interesting because like I respect what they were going for, but they over animated in that game. That's the big problem. But like the models are designed to look like the Uekawa art of the era, and like you could super duper tell from the texturing, especially in the eyes. The eyes are literally the same as how they're rendered in the art.
Mm. Yeah, I could see that.
They're just over animated like crazy.
They're over animated like crazy, and they just don't have good lighting or shading in game.
That's the tricky thing though, is that I don't really know how else in that era, unless you go like hard cell shading, you would depict well, I guess you wouldn't shade with white or black. I guess that would help. But like
Yeah,
they did go for Uekawa style shading. They just didn't really do it the best that they could, I guess.
that's the thing. I think they just didn't execute it well.
Yeah,
Like it's fine.
it's okay.
It's fine, I guess. So everyone makes the comparison to like plastic figures, but for me specifically, they feel like that sort of smooth, semi-translucent plastic that isn't translucent the more it gets layered on itself,
Mhm.
but like you can still tell that it's slightly translucent. It has this weird glossiness to it. That's like really what they feel like to me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
If we're talking about heroes, Rouge's outfit in that game is strange.
Yeah,
It's kind of it.
it's interesting that they gave her a new outfit, I guess. I don't know why they did. It is very purple.
It's very purple. I mean, they changed her eyeliner from cyan to magenta too.
Yeah.
Hard shift to a more monochrome palette. I don't think it looks bad from that angle. It's better than some of the other Sonic character designs that I think are too monochrome.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a weirdly designed outfit in terms of practicality. Not that Rouge's normal outfit is very practical, but it's very simple. So it's like, yeah, I could see someone choosing to wear this because it's not complicated.
Yeah. I think in Heroes they thought, well, Rouge is supposed to be a secret agent, and like
Right.
there's no opportunity here for us to convey that in the story except her intruding into Eggman's base. So let's just give her a secret agent-y outfit. Let's just do that.
And it is, yeah, like you said, it is interesting if they decide to give her a different outfit. It's not something the franchise does anymore outside of the Riders games and the Olympic games. And the Olympic Games one is new.
Yeah.
And I also feel like the Olympic Games one was spurred on by Mario Sports Games doing that as of late.
Yeah, probably. Her boots in Heroes is completely weird. Like I can't tell what's going on at all.
Yeah. I can't either.
Like,
She's still got high heels. It's a very strange high heel. It's almost like it's like a platform heel.
Yeah, it's like a platform that covers the entire bottom of the shoe.
Yeah, but still only raised at the heel.
It's so weird.
Extra tangent on top of the tangent that we're already tangentially on. Blaze the cat is wearing high-heeled shoes.
Yeah, she owns it though because they're rocket high heels.
Oh, that's true. I forget about that so easily. Man,
See,
she does kind of own it.
There's such a huge difference between like a Sonic character wearing high heels and literally any other character in any media wearing high heels. Like Samus wearing high heels, that sucks.
It sucks.
Like a Sonic character wearing high heels, they're running in those.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, because they can't not be running. Well, okay, they can in some games, but
Blaze
those are the games that aren't good. Yeah, Blaze explicitly runs.
Yeah, she goes. And they are rocket high heels.
I don't know what's up with her Sonic Heroes platform heels. That's so weird. I need to... Is that a thing? Are those real shoes? Let's see.
This really is the research episode.
Platform heels. Let's see. Images. Google, show them to me. No, these just look like really high-heeled shoes on top of being platform shoes. Like, they're I'm not seeing the kind of stuff Rouge has in Heroes, where it's like a really, in the same way that real platform shoes are that aren't high heeled, where it's like a solid shoe. It's just a solid raise to the bottom of the shoe. Not seeing anything like that.
There's 3 layers of shoe going on here. 4. There's 4 layers of shoe.
Yeah, because they're also boots.
Yeah, because there's the dark purple boot part, and then there's the white sole of that, and then there's the pink like platform, and then that pink platform has a white sole.
Yeah, that's true. It does read like an add-on to the shoe.
Yeah.
This is weird. I don't know what they were doing.
I don't know either. I really like her rider's design. This is the funny thing about this tangent, is that we've tangented back into the topic of the episode by talking about Rouge.
Oh, yeah.
I really like her rider's design, but once one of our friends pointed out that it's like a yoga mom outfit, it almost ruined it for me.
Why'd you have to go and curse me with that too?
I'm sorry. We can at least take solace in the fact that her gloves are awesome.
Her gloves are awesome. I like her shoes. They feel like Amy's shoes, but better.
Yeah, all they did with the gloves is add the ring, the same ring that Amy and Shadow has, and they made the bands the hot pink.
Oh, you're right. Well, the bands are also not rolled up anything. They're just the ends of the gloves, which I think is better.
Yeah, these gloves are awesome.
Man.
I
don't know why Sega hasn't hired us yet.
Yeah.
Okay, I've gotten that joke out of the way. Every single person on the internet, I think, who makes Sonic content, or like they talk, they always have to say, why isn't Sega hired us yet? I'm not looking for work. Please do not hire me. For real, I will not last a second in that environment. Thank you.
It is really interesting looking at the differences between her first rider's art and every subsequent game. Because, like, all the extra artwork, or all the artwork from the subsequent games are renders.
Yeah.
And they made the rings bigger and bigger, and the hot pink got pinker and pinker.
And the wings got smaller and smaller.
Wow, yeah, they did.
That one weirds me out the most, I think.
Yeah. Man, I hope they figure out a new like 3D model style for Sonic.
Yeah.
Because the more that I look at just like the past however many years of 3D models, I don't like them that much.
No, I don't like them either. I was just kind of having a similar thought, which was I wonder if part of the reason I don't really care for the white on Rouge much is because it's always shaded with gray.
Yeah.
Even in a lot of her model renders. It's just...
That reminds me of when we did our Sonic the Fighters 2 concept art.
Oh, yeah.
I was having trouble figuring out what color to shade it with. And I did settle on like a purple, like a lavender.
Yeah, because I feel like that's why her rider's art looks great.
Yeah, and like that then made it difficult for me to settle on what color to make her her eyeshadow, which the writers also does well because the whole thing is tinted a little bit orange.
Yeah.
So making that be like a very orange or green cyan works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the color synergy is great on the writer's art.
Yeah.
It's that everything feels warm because of the orange tinting.
Yeah. Both Shadow and Rouge have very warm palettes. Kind of. Mostly Shadow. I like Shadow's warm palette. I miss it a lot. I talked about it earlier, but I really miss it.
Yeah, it's certainly faded over the years. Man, honestly, it feels like the lightening of his muzzle color kind of started in Shadow.
Yeah.
Just looking at these renders. His 06 muzzle color is darker than any of his Shadow renders has.
That's interesting.
It's really weird.
Would it have started in Heroes then? Because Heroes is the same model as... Oh, you mean the renders. I see now.
Oh, the renders. Yeah.
Yeah, because the in-game model is the same from Heroes.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't be surprised if he looks fine in game.
Mm-hmm.
Like from that standpoint. Then again, like judging by his render in Heroes and my memories of everyone in Heroes, his muzzle color was like even more yellow than it was orange.
Yeah. Honestly, muzzle colors aside, some of these renders slap super hard.
You talking about for Shadow?
Yeah, like oh my god, the gun he's holding is ridiculous.
Yeah.
The box art one is really good, and the one where he's on the chopper is also awesome. The rest of them are whatever.
Yeah. A lot of them I think are soured by the angle, like the very front view of him.
Yeah.
Shadow's design works best at like not even just a 3/4 view, but like even a slightly front angled 3/4. So like even a 7/8, I guess.
Yeah. The silhouette created in the Chopper one is fantastic. It's incredible.
Yeah. Something about his spine shape in that one also feels very classic Sonic.
It's really round and sharp.
Yeah, it's really round. You could absolutely base like a head shape off of this one render for a more classic looking Shadow.
That sounds like a fun idea for us to do.
That sounds like something I will do.
Yeah.
Irrespective of anything else. Because inspiration is fleeting for me.
Understandable.
I like these two characters. Here's a funny thing. I don't know how much I care for Rouge in SA2 specifically.
Mm-hmm.
I end up liking her a lot in different appearances that she has.
Yeah.
Especially later, especially post Sonic X. Sonic X is a great one, but
Yeah.
I feel like what's cool about her in Sonic X rubs off just a little bit onto what's cool about her in 06, even though the dialogue she has is really stilted in that game. But I find her more interesting because of her direct bond to Shadow in Heroes in 06 than I do in SA2. Whereas like Shadow is intensely like eyes glued to the screen, captivating in SA2
Yeah.
as a character.
I think a lot of the things that I like about Team Dark in general, but especially Rouge, is the fan interpretation of her just being like really irresponsible, like stoner goth.
So you saw that Ellen Kramer fan art, the one that our friend Tellis really likes, also from Smellestein on Twitter.
Yeah, I like the idea of Rouge just being like really fun, because it feels like they want her to be like, oh, she's like she's a seductive femme fatale, which like they, I guess, attempted loosely in SA2, never tried it again, and then like in the past 10 years they like reread the character sheets that they wrote up for the original games. Like, oh yeah, this is what she's supposed to be, and then just started shoehorning it in.
Right. There's a whole thing there about recent Sonic games and Sonic adjacent media reinterpretations of the characters in ways that are flatter.
Yeah. I also do realize, like, as soon as you said that, like, oh yeah, the common thread with what happened to all of the characters in that era specifically that I pinpointed, it really is just the writers who have admittedly not have any history with Sonic prior to writing it.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't know the subtleties of these characters and you are told to write for them, of course you're not gonna know.
Yeah, just thinking about it, like, there are tons of people out there who would think it's funny to say that Sonic characters have subtleties, but they do.
Yeah.
It's not even hard to find.
It's super not.
I have this whole bit in our like ideas doc for this podcast about how the most recent writers for the franchise have left or been dropped, one or the other.
Mm.
And talking about the writers that the franchise has had since its transition to 3D, when its writing became more important to the games as a whole. And I think it'd be interesting to touch on that sometime soon. It might be kind of relevant to when we start talking about this game's plot next.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, it's hard not to get into it right now talking about Rouge and Shadow, because that is what I find most interesting about them, is their characterization and how they're placed in plots and what they do with them.
Yeah.
Like, Shadow's whole thing in 06 specifically is very, like, even if it's not stated super explicitly, it's him reclaiming what has hurt him and what has made his life messed up, and doing anything with it. And that's wild. like there's such an interesting character arc there that to some degree the game explores, but it doesn't fill in the gaps between where Shadow was in his titular game, where he was in Heroes, to him in 06 acting as a free agent to some degree and just doing things because he likes getting things done. Yeah. Not really important what they are. And that's what I find fascinating about him, I guess. I don't know.
It is definitely a little frustrating that like so much of Shadow's time spent in games where like plot was happening for him, usually specifically, was like, oh, I have amnesia. I just got to relearn everything, rather than forward growth.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't really until 06 that we got that forward growth, because we spent like 2 whole games just kind of dwelling on what has already happened and like elaborating on it.
Yeah, super aimless for him.
Which it does suck that happened, because I am of the opinion that they shouldn't have left Shadow to die at the end of SA2, because that feels contradictory to his character arc, is finding a reason to live.
Yes. This is a conversation we've had outside of recording that I think is super interesting, because no one else I know has brought this up to me, and no one I've seen on the internet has mentioned it either, and it's super compelling.
Yeah, we'll definitely get more into it next time, where we really kind of dig deep into the story. But
yeah,
I just really wish literally anything had caused him to live. Like Sonic pulled him out and said, come on, you're not going to die that easily, because it's true. He spent a whole game literally remembering his reason for living. So
yeah, and that's also an incredibly Sonic thing to do, period.
Yeah, so like I really wish that set things in motion for him to continue growing as a character, because like him dying is like, okay, whatever. It was intended for them to just drop the character. If that's what they wanted to do, then fine. On that level, I disagree with it, but also like going forward, it just sucks what letting him die did for the franchise. Like it's hard to explain. Like at the time, they didn't know how popular he would be, which makes it frustrating that they brought him back with amnesia. It's not frustrating that they brought him back to life. It's frustrating that they killed him in the first place then. Because, again, that stops his character from having time to grow and progress. When instead we gotta do a repeat. We gotta relearn everything about Shadow that we already knew, and we gotta untruncate his character arc.
There's really something there, because he could have ended up in a similar spot to where he was in 06 from that seed, that idea of him finding something specifically to live for and realizing what he's worth.
Yeah.
He just ended up there canonically by realizing he's not worth anything, so it's okay for him to decide to do something. You know, like the more nihilistic angle, and nihilistic in the sense of like there's no real tangible purpose to anything, so I'm free to make my own decisions. That kind of nihilism, rather than the morbid, dumb nihilism of there's no point to anything, I'm going to give up and not do anything.
Yeah.
That's how we got to sort of to 06, was an elongated period of Shadow being emotionless and detached from everything, and then eventually coming to the personal realization of, I guess it doesn't really matter who I am, and then moving on. It's there are different ways they could have approached that, using real interactions he has with Sonic, which are the crux of, not the crux, like the entire momentum of SA2's plot is him and Sonic talking, which they only do 3 times. Well, before last story anyway.
Yeah.
When you get so much story mileage out of just character interaction, and then you don't let any of that define who those characters are afterward that's like so much missed potential. Like, really feels like missing the forest for the trees.
Yeah. And you know what? So much of it ties back into like post '06 once they got the new writers. So much of just like the halting of character growth can be attributed to just having writers who don't know about the history of the franchise, because literally if you just hand them a character sheet and ask them to kind of look up um cutscenes to understand how the characters work, they're not gonna know the nuances of it.
Everyone loved it when Shadow the Hedgehog showed up in Sonic Boom, Rise of Lyric, and started talking about how weak friendship is and how you shouldn't care about other people, and also I'm going to fight you. Actually, do you ever fight Shadow in that game?
I
I feel like you don't. I think he just shows up twice and then doesn't show up again.
Oh, and Rise, yeah, I for whatever reason I was thinking of the 3DS version.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, he shows up and you don't fight him.
It's so weird. At least they made him funny in the cartoon. He's not good, but at least he's funny.
Yeah. Props to the Boom guys. It's funny.
Yep. Yeah, props to the Boom guys for being able to wring humor out of whatever they were handed, you know?
Yeah.
I miss SA2 Shadow a lot.
Me
I spent
too.
I spent a good bit of time talking about what I liked about him in '06, his like endpoint of character development, but he just has such an interesting presence in SA2 where he's so self-assured.
Yeah.
It's a really fun parallel to Sonic, where Sonic is obviously also a very self-assured character, but they have such different intents and purposes in Sonic Adventure 2, to the point that Shadow just carries himself inherently differently to Sonic, despite like a similar conceit. It's so cool. People have talked about how Shadow's silhouette is recognizably similar to Sonic's, but also never looks like him. You can always tell them apart at a glance just by the different shapes of their quills, shapes of the brow, shapes of the shoes, all these little details that really matter for separating them. And it's that sort of character design aspect that speaks to how they're portrayed in SA2. It's obviously they went whole hog on the hero and dark two halves of a whole thematic bit, but it's like it's done really well.
Yeah.
Like you can see at every stage how they did it intentionally and thoughtfully, in terms of how Sonic and Shadow act, how they interact, how they react to different scenes, and what motivates them. God, SA2's cool.
Yeah, true. Thinking about it more, it's interesting how they focus so much on centering Shadow's kind of being around his past rather than his interactions in the present, which are so interesting.
Yeah.
They got really hooked on all the Maria stuff in the arc, which
you know.
and now they don't even have that. He just acts the way he does, reminiscing about the past about nothing.
Does he still reminisce about the past?
Nope, but like the way that he does it is just how he acts,
Oh, yeah.
like all the time.
Yeah. On a related note, I still haven't gotten caught up with the IDW comics.
Well, I'm sort of caught up. I'm not like 100% caught up, but I'm in like the current arc that's going on, and Shadow is there, and that's another part of it, is that like it's not just the current writers of the games. There's also weird Sega mandates that dictate how characters can act.
Yeah.
Which, that's another.
And to kind of get it out there, Ian Flynn, one of the primary writers for the IDW comics, has put it out there that, like, even though he's talked about Sega mandates before, they're not as strict as people extrapolated from his comments. Like, they're there, but they tend to be on specific minute stuff, and people are taking Ian Flynn's what's the word? I guess like rephrasing, at least. I can't think of the right word, but the specific way that he has rephrased them in talking about them as if it's law and not him just trying to get across the idea of things he is not allowed to do or things he had to tweak. But Sonic Team and Sega are still being weird about Shadow's characterization and how he is allowed to be characterized.
Yeah, which is a weird thing to have a mandate for, because as someone who is very familiar with like Mario mandates, those aren't typically character centric, and if they are, we have not seen them be put on a like they've not been pushed in a way that makes them visible the same way other mandates are.
Yeah, right? Like, people think about Mario mandates and they think about how they're not allowed to introduce new NPCs or new designs for characters for NPCs in the RPG spin-offs these days. But like, you can pull up, I'm blanking on it. What's the most recent Paper Mario game?
Origami
King. You can pull up Origami King, and you'll still get 3 different scenes over the course of the game of Mario doing goofy dances that he never does in any other game. So it's clear that they're not being restrictive on the way Mario is portrayed. Because if they were doing any sort of restriction on him, I would really expect it to be like, you have to be careful how you let him emote. Like, that would be the thing I would expect first and foremost. Because
to continue this tangent,
yeah,
I think that is part of it, because there is reason to believe that Mario Strikers and its sequel put the mandates into motion in a pretty big way. The main thing that game did was characterize the characters in a way that Nintendo is not like big on. Although Mario himself isn't very out of character. If anything, he's very like cocky.
Right.
But he's far from the quote unquote worst that game does.
He's not. It's not like how they made Peach a diva.
Yeah.
The thing that I was getting at was more like Mario is still allowed to get angry or get like scared in the new Paper Mario games. Mm-hmm. He's not stoic. He's not constantly jovial, which are the sorts of things I would expect from Nintendo, who is becoming more and more like Disney every day.
Yeah.
And if they're not doing stuff like that, then I would be surprised if they're putting much weight on the way that other studios are portraying Mario, because it's probably a lot of informal stuff. Like, you wouldn't make Mario pull a weapon on someone that's not a hammer, like that sort of thing.
Yeah, it probably has to do with like keeping his core personality consistent rather than preventing him from emoting in certain ways.
Exactly. Compared to how it seems like they're handling Shadow these days.
Yeah, which is like the opposite.
Yeah. He can be as badass and cool as any writer wants, but he can't care.
Yeah.
Or at least not much.
I guess that's technically nothing new, because there's always been weird Sega mandates regarding how characters are allowed to emote specifically. Because earlier in the Archie stuff, Sonic specifically, I know we have seen specifically that Sonic is not allowed to have any sort of extreme emotion, typically negative, and they've had to like redraw certain scenes where he's crying to make him cry less.
Those ones are always weird to me, because I think there is something to be read into with how Sega and Sonic Team are handling the character in that way of like, what are they restricting Sonic from doing? Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, I think some of those panels that had to be redrawn looked weird.
Yeah, that's understandable.
I think that I guess what I'm saying is like I think some of those mandates from Sega make a certain amount of sense contextually as like you went too far in this one instance. Can you reel it back? And may have been read into by fans as a consistent practice, like a wall put down in front of artists and writers for the comics. But they might have been situational, or they might have been blanket. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Weird.
It's weird. I just miss SA2 Shadow.
Yeah, I miss how everyone acts in SA2. I like how huffy Sonic is in SA2.
Yeah. There's just a lot of good characterization in SA2 in general. Like,
Yeah.
it's funny to think that like Knuckles is probably the weakest characterized in SA2's story. Considering he's typically a character with a lot of presence or a lot of like plot influence over because of his actions.
Yeah.
Before and after that game.
He is just kind of there.
He's just kind of
the
there.
Master Emerald plot doesn't really tie into anything else.
Yeah, but Sonic has a lot of I guess for lack of a better term, stage presence in the scenes of SA2. Tails does from time to time, and even Amy has some moments that matter and feel like she's a character who is having to make choices rather than a character who is purely being dragged along and used as like a token in the plot.
Yeah.
It's nice. There just really isn't much of that anymore.
Yep. I am very much hoping that going forward we kind of reel things back. Well, reel things back in the sense of going back, I guess.
Yeah, okay, yeah. We're gonna rewind the cassette.
Yeah. If Roger quitting means that we go back to Ryan Drummond, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
I really hope that if that happens, they make the most of it. And like, I do kind of have faith that now they would talk with Ian Flynn to be like the lead writer of a lot of the games. I think
it could happen.
That does feel like to me how the Sonic pipeline in my brain, from how I understand it, should work. Because Ian Flynn has been around for so long, and he's worked on 2 different Sonic comics under 2 different publishers, and I think that's a very important thing to recognize, is that they kept him.
What's kind of interesting here is that there's been a lot of reports that Sonic as a franchise has migrated its development and just overall brand presence to the US in the last couple of years. And if that's the case, there's room for them to hire someone like Ian Flynn to work on the games.
Yeah, that's a very smart decision overall, because like notoriously Sonic has always been more of an American IP in terms of its appeal, just straight up.
Appeal and success.
Yeah. I would be very interested to see where that goes. Plus, like, all of the Sonic games that people really like dig were just made in America.
Yeah, that's a funny thing, huh? We don't really talk about it too much. I guess some people might know about Sonic 2 specifically, but like even a lot of Sonic 3's development was in the US. To be fair, that's something I didn't even know until really recently. There was a brief discussion in a thread on Sonic Retro about the informal designation of Sonic Team prior to 1996 with Nights into Dreams. I believe it was Nights into Dreams was the first Sonic Team game in terms of it actually being the name of their sub-studio, their development studio at Sega. Because before that, it was a loosely connected group of developers who worked on Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, Sonic CD, and a couple of non-Sonic games in there also. And the only games that had Sonic Team on them were Sonic 1, 2, and 3, I actually don't even think Sonic CD had Sonic Team on it. Maybe in the credits.
Yeah, maybe.
But the point I'm getting at was that like it wasn't a formal design studio until then. And it was through that conversation that I happened to learn that Sonic 3's development was primarily in the US. I just never heard about this before.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Like, I think this is the first time I've really, like, solidly heard about it, but it definitely tracks, especially with the stuff about Michael Jackson.
Yeah, I was about to say all the composers who worked on it. Honestly,
yeah.
I mean,
actually.
They had Howard Drawson from Sega Technical Institute.
Yeah.
So there were probably a lot of Sega Technical Institute members who worked on Sonic 3. I should look at that game's credits sometime. When I did my Sonic the Hedgehog 2 LP, my Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for the Sega Mega Drive / Genesis, released in November 1992 on a Tuesday, an event that forever be known as Sonic Tuesday, I mentioned... No, that's not true. When I did my Sonic CD LP, I mentioned that most of the names in Sonic 2's credits are American names compared to the credits of Sonic 1 and Sonic CD. I didn't pay an ounce of attention to Sonic 3's credits, and I should go back and look at those again.
I'm really curious as to how, I guess, open-ended Sonic development has been on like in a global sense lately, because it definitely does feel like the best Sonic games are the ones where they just kind of allow the developers to like cut back a little bit and mostly do like their own individual kinds of research. Because like I think about how for Adventure they took a bunch of trips all around the world to get like texture reference and just observe stuff for the kinds of stuff that's in Sonic Adventure.
Right.
And like even the more obvious ones, like how in SA2 Cityscape is like San Francisco literally because the developers were in San Francisco.
Yeah.
That definitely sounds like a very healthy creative environment.
Yeah. Honestly, it makes me wonder if they did a bunch of traveling for Sonic Unleashed. They almost certainly did. I just never really heard about it.
Yeah, exactly. We don't really hear about it, but like, yeah.
That probably contributed to like aspects of that game that I like also.
Yeah.
Every time so far recording tonight that we've come to like a pause in like the subject, like a good stopping point for that particular conversation thread, I just sigh and think internally, man, I miss SA2.
Yeah.
It's just happened a bunch tonight. And like part of that I think is my brain trying to pull us back to the core topic, but part of it's also just like thinking about a bunch of aspects of all the games we've talked about tonight. Sonic Adventure 2 just keeps doing them better or more interestingly. And I want a resurgence of the mindsets that the developers had going into that game.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it in the last episode, if not the one before. I'm pretty sure I mentioned it on the podcast that it's interesting how SA2 is seen as like the turning point for the whole franchise. When I don't really know, it feels like it's very like one-off with everything that it accomplished. It's kind of like lightning in a bottle. Like,
yeah.
Even if the story isn't perfect, everything that it attempts to do is really cool. It's like the pristine example of Sonic ambition.
And you know, the work that went into the two new main characters is emblematic of that, I think.
Yeah.
There's also Maria and Gerald Robotnik. They exist.
They do exist. We didn't really get into them this episode, but I think we can hand wave that a little bit because they are extremely plot important characters.
Man, they're not even just plot important, they're plot dependent.
Yeah.
You can separate Shadow conceptually from a lot that happens in SA2 in terms of like the idea of Shadow as a character.
Yeah.
But you can't do that with any of the extended Robotnik family.
Yeah. Which, man, this is weird. I wish they stuck around, not for Shadow. Like, I don't not stick around in terms of like them living. I wish they maintained relevancy in the story for Eggman.
Yeah. I was just thinking about this earlier. I really should be talking about this in the plot episode, but screw it. It's really strange how Eggman has no arc in SA2.
Yeah, and like no connection at all to Maria, despite them being cousins.
Yeah, they try to handwave it in the ending sequence after Shadow dies, where everyone gives their statements on, like, just the strange things that happened in the last 2 days. Like the planet almost getting blown up by a guy who's still in the room, who helped us stop the planet from being blown up just now. The information about the extended Robotnik family and Shadow passing, and like Eggman tries to make a statement about his grandfather. Is it grandfather or great grandfather? I can't remember. It probably grandfather, right? That's not enough years to not be more than that. Yeah. But it just comes across really flat and doesn't mean anything. Not helped by the fact that Tails responds with completely irrelevant statements.
Yeah.
And it's so strange. It highlights how Eggman was a powerful player in SA2, but walked away from it having accomplished nothing and having learned nothing.
Yeah, yeah. It is really weird thinking about that as a whole, because so much is set in motion just because of him.
Yeah. He's the one who finds and uncovers Shadow.
Yeah.
So I don't think anything would have happened without him going into that research facility to begin with, and that's weird.
Do we even know if Shadow's similarities being used to their advantage is like part of the plan?
I don't know. I don't think anything is ever like exposited. I have a theory that I'd like to get into more detail next time, that I share with like a handful of people, of like the government mistaking Shadow for Sonic and vice versa is just a complete cover-up to hide Shadow's existence entirely.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's never stated.
Yeah.
I've heard that it might be implied a little bit in Sonic X, but I haven't watched it, so I don't know that for sure. But it's never stated in SA2. And while it makes things make more sense, it's never stated. It's just left for you to assume that people are mixing these two hedgehogs up.
Yeah, which honestly I buy really well.
I buy only with like low quality security footage, which is a lot of what they have to go off on in terms of what they show on news broadcasts in game.
I buy it because there's not more hedgehogs. There's 2. Sonic is the famous one. Amy exists. So like from the perspective of the public, if you see another spiky hedgehog who looks like Sonic going around and committing crimes all of a sudden, your one conclusion is that, oh, that's Sonic.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Not that there's another one.
Yeah, that's really reasonable, actually. I hadn't thought about it from that angle. Like, the only thing that doesn't cover up is the government's actions, specifically.
Yeah, which, honestly, I think your idea for it explains it well enough. Because, like, even if it is just, like, pure government incompetency, which, like, it could be.
Yeah.
I think that you can get away with having both.
Yeah, I absolutely think so, because they would use that to their advantage.
Yeah, exactly. Whew.
We talked about a lot of different things this episode, kind of unexpected.
Yeah, this is a lot of tangents in this episode. This is the variety hour episode.
I feel like this sets the tone. We're not going to be great at staying on subject ever.
Yeah.
We come in these with seeds, and whatever grows is what you get. Thanks for buying the mystery seed pack from your local grocer.
Yeah. You may notice that they are blue and spiky.
Yeah, it's like Peach's birthday cake in Mario Party.
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
I'm also hungry. I'm a little sleepy too.
We should go to sleep and eat.
Yeah.
Maybe in that order. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Thank you all for listening. thank you all for listening. This has been the most famous podcast in the world. Let's talk about Sonic. It's going to stay that way as long as it's within our hands to make it that. Thank you for sitting through my attempts to construct sentences. Really appreciate it.
You could find us at twitter.com/LTASonic, and you can support us at patreon.com/LTASonic. I have been Mitt. You can find me on Twitter at twitter.com/MITSAMEMARIO.
And I've been Crep. You can find me on Twitter at CRAPPYBLUE.
And we'll see you guys in the next zone.